Hello and welcome to this YouTube tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be going over how to make neon lights and how to add them to your Photoshops and make them sort of fall cohesively inside the work that you're doing. I'm going to show you today how to do proper lighting, how to make sure you can manipulate and adjust the neon as well as change its color and fit it well into your work. So let's get into it. So really the first thing we want to do when including neon lights into our scene is to focus on where the natural lighting is coming from, as well as what elements are in the scene. So if we have an element sitting in front of the neon lights, we will have to adjust the lighting so that it reflects that. Again, we want back lighting, front lighting, side lighting, all the lighting you can really think of. It's good to use some references. Go on Google, search up neon lights, and photography. That's a really good option when people holding fluorescent lights. You can really see it in those photos. So go ahead and go check them out. I have a couple on screen passing by here. But yeah, it's a really good idea to go look at references before doing any of these things before you jump into lighting. But now, yeah, I'm going to jump into actually designing this, and I'll walk you through on how to actually design and sort of mock up these neon lights.
Okay, so as we're starting off here, I just want to make it clear that you remember to have your files organized and all that stuff. That's what I did at the start here. So what I start doing here first is adjusting the levels of the actual watch itself, just to make sure that it's darker, because we have a dark scene and we want those highlights and lights to really pop. So once we're done with that, I'm going to go into making the neon bar. So right now here I have a simple ellipse that's made with the shape tool. And here I'm deforming it to make it more abstract and fit around in the area in which I want. And so now that I have that ready, I duplicated a bunch and rasterized one of the layers, put one of the white layers on the top, and then I basically just expand the selection and paste in a bunch of color to get that neon glow effect. And as you can see here, once I sort of thicken the white and Gaussian blur the color, it starts to look like a neon bar. And that's how you get a basic neon bar. And when you group it all together and then close the group and add a layer mask to it based on the watch selection, and then you can just erase that, you can really get more sort of interaction between the two elements as you have here. And so now I just go into creating the selection and the mask for the outline, and I do that by modifying the selection, contracting it, and then as well as setting that as the mask, and then expanding it and deleting the expansion part of the mask to get that sort of thin selection. And so here I am again going in with my outlines. I have the rim lighting. And I have a white rim lighting and a green rim lighting. The white to get more of that hot pop, and then the green to more accent the neon's color. And so while doing this, again, it's all personal preference. You can play around with it, see what works best for you. Again, it's all based on what you feel and what you think works. Again, you kind of want to keep the highlights if it's overpassing the neon bar itself. You want to keep those highlight areas bright, as well as the bars passing over the object, as in for the watch here. You want to keep those parts bright because if you think about it, if you stand in front of a light, the outside of you is going to be bright. So here I have the reflecting light now passing on from the neon onto the watch itself. And again, I'm just playing around with the colors, seeing what works best. You know, everything's an experiment when working with these things. It's all trial and error. You can just have fun with it, mess around. Don't be afraid to just take your time and perfect what you're doing. And then, you know, just fiddle around with the colors, the blend modes, see what really works with you. Here I am blurring the rim lighting. I feel like that really works for me in a sense. There's a lot of tweaking that I had to do with the layer mask because for me it wasn't working, so again I had to troubleshoot a few things, but I ended up getting what I wanted in the end here eventually. But yeah, again, it's a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of messing around, seeing what works for you, and in the end I feel like it comes out pretty good for me. So then again, I get both of them to be blurred, Gaussian blurred at least, and you have a softer sort of edge there for the lighting, which I feel like for me really works out for this design. And so now that I'm sort of figuring out this and getting a sense of it. See, there you go, got the softer edging. I go into doing a little bit more highlights and shadows. So here I'm doing the shadows to make sure that the watch is sort of more involved in the scene. You can't just have all these neon and glowing lights all around it without it having depth. And again, adding the highlights and shadows really gives it a lot of depth. So here I am adjusting the blend mode options on the neon again, as it wasn't clicking with me later on designing it. And again, the shadows, I wanted to keep the face dark. I wanted to keep the areas that were away from the light dark. But then again, after going through it, I decided, okay, maybe I wanted to keep the face a little bit brighter since that is the main focus part of the watch. And so I then applied some highlight to the face as well as sort of the sharp edges of the watch to get that pop of light. And again, I apply this in green later on, but you really want to, you know, make the highlights and corners of your object or your focal point pop. Yeah, again, it's the main thing you want your viewers to look at, so you keep focus on that and you keep working on that, adding highlights and lowlights and shadows and all that. So here I am again fiddling with the colors. I wanted to add edge lighting here on this side, but I saw that it was bleeding into the watch bracelet part or wristband part, so I decided to modify the selection and get some selection so that the watch wristband wasn't in the way. And so here I am again just fiddling with what I think works for the watch and the design itself, getting that green highlight there, and figuring out that, yeah, that sort of works better, as again the watch face is in front of the neon bar, so it needs that backlighting, a little bit of side lighting from that neon. So yeah, so in the final touches here, I duplicate the neon bar to show that you're able to do it with multiple. And you could adjust and play around with the shape and size of the bar itself. And again, just keep fiddling what you think works for it. Blend and do all the kind of stuff you can. Fiddle around with the actual design itself to see what works for you. And for me, I saw that, okay, you might need a little bit more highlights because of the second neon bar. So as I'm doing that highlights here with the green as well. And then the final touches, you just add a few blend modes, levels, curves, a bunch of different color adjustments to sort of make it settle and pop in the final composition. And so now after doing that, I add some vibrance, some hue and saturation to make the green pop a little bit more, and there you go.
Okay, so there we are. This is the end of the tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope you can use this for your daily needs as a designer, working on this in Photoshop, as your passion, as your hobby, you know, doing what you can. Again, this is a tutorial here to help you out and help you learn. And yeah, so I hope you guys learned a thing or two. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back with more content very shortly. Bye-bye.